Welcome to another AQS Guild Buzz with Bonnie. And today my guest is Susan Wolfe, who is the Vice President of the Louisville Nimble Thimbles group right here in Kentucky. Welcome, Susan.
Well, thank you for having us.
Well, let's start out by talking about your guild and when it started and a little bit about what it's doing today.
All right. The guild was started in 1979. We are the oldest guild, organized guild in the Louisville area. When we founded as a 501c3, so we could do charity work. And in the beginning, the members, since a 501c3 made us a teaching guild, in the beginning, the members had to teach something at every session. So every member was responsible for teaching a technique or a block or something. And that's just carried out over the years. We have branched out into more community service work over the years and do a lot of that at this point in time.
Well, I know you started out with just a few members, but how many members do you have today?
We have approximately 50. And there's a core of about 40 of us that are there all the time. And then new members come in and other members leave. But it's about 50 every year.
Okay, now I know that you've had at least one of your guild quilts in a special publication.
Yes, we did. It was in an AQS publication.
Was the Quilt Art Engagement Calendar from 1990.
Right. And there is a picture of the quilt.
So it's a basket and they all have different flowers in them, don't they?
That is correct. It was designed by Debbie Cahill.
And yes, and you told me something interesting. You told me something interesting about the label that they put on that quilt.
It took them 5.5 hours to make the label because it was all hand embroidered and appliqued.
So they probably hand embroidered all those signatures, didn't they?
Probably so, yes, probably so.
Well, at least you know what? They documented it. And you know, Kentucky is one of the very first states to do a quilt documentation program. And so we were glad to see that being carried out, aren't we?
Yes. We have another quilt that's hanging in the Filson Historical Society, which celebrates the ballooning. And because Derby and the ballooning is very big here in Louisville. And we actually had a balloon in the balloon races at one time.
So that's probably why your logo then is a balloon, isn't it?
Yeah, it is right. That is right.
It's a pretty one too.
Colorful hot air balloon, and the basket is a thimble.
Well, I know that you have a very active guild, and tell us about some of the charity work that your group does.
Well, we have several charity groups we do. One of them is what we call Cuddle Care, and that's our quilts for the Norton Hospital, for Children's Hospital. And we finished the last quarter of last year with about 280 quilts. And this year so far, we've donated over 300.
Well, so your people have been busy quilting, haven't they?
Very busy. The pandemic did not stop us at all. When within a week, we had instructions out in the internet for a Cuddle Care quilt. And we had a newsletter that went out called the Isolation, SEW, and members would send in pictures of everything that they were working on. And then within a month, we were back up and running with Zoom classes.
That's great. Now, I know another charity group that you work for is Maryhurst. Tell us what that is.
Merryhurst is a home for abused children. Mostly girls, I believe, and it's national. Young ladies from all over the country come here trying to get their lives together, and when they leave, we make them what we call the Merryhurst bags, And each girl gets a bag, so she's got something to carry her personal belongings in when she either goes back to a home situation or she goes to a foster situation or something like that.
Well, I know you do another program that is unique. I've not heard of very many guilds doing this, but you have a children's quilt show.
We are so proud of our children's quilt show. Yes, this is a quilt show where the quilts are made by children, not for children. Very few rules. They have to be a quilt, of course. They don't have to be square. They have to be quilted. They have to be done by a student, but the student can get as much help as they need from an adult. And it costs nothing to enter. And then we display all of them. This last year, we were scheduled to have it at the public library on a Saturday, where it would be a lot of walk-in people that would see the quilt show too. It's been a great success. We've gotten more and more quilts each and every year.
Yes, and I understand that that program's available to anyone that's 17 and younger, so you have all ages involved.
All ages, yes, absolutely.
Well, now I know you told me that you aren't affiliated with Quilts of Valor, but you have another program that you do for veterans.
We do one for a local one. We work with the local AMVET here in Jeffersontown, Kentucky, which is where we meet. And we get lists of veterans, and that we make quilts for those veterans. They may not have been in war, they may not have been wounded, but they served. And we feel that their service needs to be recognized. So we have our own little personal honor to the veterans, if you will.
Well, Quilters Day Out is really big here in Kentucky, and that's in March. And it was a predecessor to the National Quilting Day. That's the third Saturday in March. Mm-hmm. So tell us what the guilds here in Kentucky do that day.
Well, it's open to all the guilds to participate, and you can set up what we call the guild booth, which is a couple of 10-inch tables where we can, with drapes in back, where we can hang quilts and show other guilds within the area what our guild does. There are some guilds that all do charity work. There are some guilds like us that do teaching. So we have samples of the things that we teach in our guild and pictures of the final product. And all the other guilds have that same opportunity. Then we also use it as a vendor. We pay the vendor fee, and we have what we call a boutique. And those things that are donated to the guild, we put up for sale at great discounted prices, and we allow the quilters to buy them at the Quilters Day Out. Unfortunately, we did not have Quilters Day Out this year, and we still had donations coming in.
Well, so
we started putting them on Facebook Marketplace.
Oh.
And we have sold, we've sold almost $2,000 worth of items. And it's, it's anywhere from a $5 bag of scraps to a $70 quilt, things that are donated. And that's what we use as our general operating fee, because that's our only source of income.
Well, and so that's a great way to get rid of those things that we don't want at home anymore. Maybe it's fabric that you bought for a project and it doesn't appeal to you anymore. Somebody else out there will like that, won't they?
That is right. And if they donate it, we will sell it. Yes.
Well, now you said that you were doing some Zoom with your meetings now. And so is that going pretty well? And how is the participation?
The participation is wonderful. As a matter of fact, in some ways it's better than we had it in person, because nobody's got to change out of their clothes and quit running the traffic to make a meeting. We started with a block of the meeting, And we had 9 different blocks, very, very basic blocks. And we sewed them together. On Monday, we would tell people how much fabric they needed and how they needed to cut it, but we wouldn't tell them what we were doing. And then in our meeting on Thursday, we'd all sew the block together. And different members of the guild actually taught the preparation of those and gave us their little tips and tricks along the way.
Okay, well, I know that you do 2 meetings each month when you're able to meet in person. Are you still doing that now?
We still do that now, yes. We have an evening meeting, which is basically when our business meeting would be, should we have any to deal with. And then we have a day meeting, which is usually a little bit longer and involves a little bit more of a sit and sew. We might teach a class or teach a concept or work on a start project, and then we'll work on the project together during the session. And it's a great way to keep our members close to each other. We are a close guild, and we keeps them together. It keeps them familiar with what everybody else is doing. Last Saturday, we had what we call a drop-off pickup, where people who have been working on projects, like if they made a quilt top and it's now ready to go to somebody to quilt it, or they have the completed quilts and now somebody needs to bind it. So we have a drive-through, and they drive through, they drop up whatever they're going to complete, and then we'll give them something more. So if they give us some quilt tops, we'll give them some to bind. And we just did a drive-through, and it's a wonderful success. It gave us the opportunity, this was our 3rd one, it gave us the opportunity to at least see faces, not just on Zoom. And if we have a personal relationship with 1 or 2 of the members, to really get some personal conversation, which you wouldn't do on Zoom.
Well,
but the classes have been well received. We have almost 2/3 attendance at both meetings, which is
wonderful.
Really pretty good.
And I think that's what we really have all been missing, is that personal contact. So I can see why the drop off and pickup is going great for your group.
Yes. I mean, even if you only see somebody going by with a mask on their face, at least you get to see them.
And say hello, right?
And say hello. That's right. That's right.
Well, I can tell you that your community is very privileged to have such an active group as your quilting group is there, the Nimble Thimbles, the Louisville Nimble Thimbles. Mm-hmm. And I appreciate you being with me today to share some information about your guild. And today's program is being brought to you by the AQS Let's Quilt series. It's a series of classes that I'm teaching that are free online. And you can find those by going to quiltweek.com/letsquilt. And at the top of the page, you'll see that we have 3 different classes now available. The first one was a basics class. We did a 9-patch and put some sashing and borders on it. The second one was quilting with triangles. And the new one that is just out this month is the exquisite scrap quilt. So if you have a lot of scraps, cut yourself some 4-inch squares and join us for that class. You're going to make a really fun quilt. And I hope you'll encourage your guild members to go take a look at those classes, because we really geared them for beginning to intermediate level quilters, and to all of those people that bought sewing machines to make face masks. Now we want to teach them so that they can go ahead and do some other things with their sewing machines.
Right, right. When I get those emails notifying the guild that they're coming, I send them out to the guild members so that they can tune in too.
All right. Well, listen, and thank you so much for joining us at home. So if you're watching us on YouTube, I want to encourage you to hit that subscribe button, because when you do, YouTube will send you an email letting you know a brand new AQS video is on our channel, which is Quilt TV. Also, I want to encourage you to join the American Quilters Society. The American Quilters Society is the largest quilting organization in the world, and we have new owners, Bill, Schrader and James Mitchell. Many of you have seen the video of them introducing themselves. They're two young fellows in their 30s, and they've got some great ideas of new things that we can do here at the American Quilter Society. So I hope that you'll join us, become a member, and that you'll be right back here to watch the Let's Quilt classes and another Guild Buzz with Bonnie.
Thank you.